Today is July 16th, 2015. I'm Elizabeth Eli and I'm here interviewing dear friends of mine, Fred and Joe Osborne. They had the experience of living through World War II here in the United States, and Fred is a veteran who went to fight during World War II over in the Germany area or Europe, and he also was selected to be a guard at the Nuremberg trials, so they are going to tell us their story today. So before we get into the war, could you just tell me a little bit about before the war, how you met, how old you were, where you lived, what kind of things you did, and what your impressions were when you heard you were drafted?
Who wants to start?
Go ahead.
I
You've got a better memory.
I lived on not really a farm in Lancaster County, but it was I guess a small farm. My dad was a cattle dealer, and I lived with him. My parents were not divorced, just separated, and good friends. So I lived with my dad, went to high school, graduated from high school. In between times, I met him at Barnsley Sales, which is like a farmer's market. My dad would take cattle to sell, but they had other things, just like a regular farmer's market. And a friend introduced us. That's how I met him.
How old were you, Joe?
When I met him, what, 15, 16?
I thought it was 16 or 17.
No, we were met. Yeah, probably 16.
Okay. And you might have said, I'm sorry if I missed it, where were you living at the time?
9 points.
9 points. Okay.
Like county, yeah.
Right now it's Amish country.
Okay. How about you, Fred?
Oh boy. We had just moved to Aberdeen, Maryland. My dad had taken a job there during the war. And so we were living in Aberdeen, Maryland. But let's say, we went down there after I had met her. So I had a great time taking the bus from Aberdeen to Baltimore and then catching the bus to Oxford to get her back to see her. So we went on like that until they called me in the service or something. So we were living in Aberdeen, Maryland when I went in the service.
Now, what was the job your father took?
Well, there was a company there in Aberdeen that they were building things for war. And he had a job there. He was half carpenter. And he was there helping make those.
Okay.
Before that, when we met, his father had a farm in Lancaster County.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm in southern Lancaster County.
Did he have to sell the farm to move to Maryland?
Yeah.
Okay. So then what happened after you met and you got drafted? How do you get drafted at that time? Do they send you a letter? Do they give you a phone call? How are you selected?
Well, if I remember right, when you turn 18 years old, we had to register. And then they call you when they want you. That's just the way it works.
They send you a letter.
Oh yeah, they call you, send you a letter, say, get here.
Yeah, Uncle Sam wants you.
How did you all feel about that? Were you scared?
Well, it had been going on for and I had a brother that spent 3 years in the Army, so at that time, and so I was quite familiar with it. And well, everybody was doing the same thing. So, you wasn't no use getting excited about it because you're going to have to go anyway. So we never put up any fight or anything like that. You just took it when it came and went.
Now, were you in school when you got the letter? Were you working?
No, I was out of school. I had graduated. And
You were working on the farm?
Yeah, we were living on a farm before we moved to Aberdeen. But down there, I worked in Aberdeen too, and another job, another kind of thing, and just something to do until they call me. When they called me, I had a horrible cold, and they put me off for 6 months. So I got to spend another 6 months down there before they took me to camp.
Okay.
To train for going overseas.
Now, did you lose your job at that time? Do they hold your job, or when you get sent to war, do you basically lose it and you have to be rehired?
Yeah, well, everybody had to register, you know, so everybody was used to it, and I don't even remember. Well, of course, I told them I was getting called, and you know, they just nothing you could do about it. I mean, you know, you couldn't keep me.
Right.
Jobs were plentiful because it was during the war and everybody was working. You
Right.
didn't have to you didn't have to look for a job. They'd probably look for you.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So then how did it transpire that you got married before you went? What did you do?
Oh, golly. Go ahead, dear.
Well, I guess when he knew he was going overseas. So we decided, I guess it's the spur of the moment to get married. So I don't know if it was, I guess it was a wise decision.
It was, I think. Because how many years are you celebrating now?
71 in August.
That's awesome. Now, what did your parents think when you got married?
They didn't mind. I mean, everybody was getting married. I mean,
They knew
you know,
her parents. They knew each other.
Yeah,
Parents
I mean-
knew each other.
Okay.
everybody at that time, you know, they were getting married for them overseas. So,
Okay.
and I have a funny story to tell you. His brother that he went overseas with, they were in New York, he and his brother, and they called Irene, that was his brother's wife, and me to meet them in New York. So we took the bus to New York. We went to the hotel where they were supposed to be. They weren't there. So I don't know how long we stayed. And here it happened that, I don't know what the name of the hotel was, but it has 2 entrances. We went in one entrance as they were going out the other. So I did not see him till he came home from the service. And in the meantime, his brother got Dear John letter.
Oh, wow.
And he already had an older brother overseas, was already there. So.
Wow. So that time you went, you never saw each other in New York.
Yeah,
Not in New York.
yeah.
Did you ever figure out what had happened?
Yeah, we went in one door as they were going out the other.
But when did you know that? Was it after you came back from war, or you figured it out eventually?
Oh, I guess we figured it out.
I guess we probably figured it out by letters. He probably said, "Where were you?"
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, New York was full of servicemen, Army, Navy, you know. So, but
Right.
we didn't see them. So.
And so your brother's, was it a wife or a girlfriend?
Wife,
And then she split after that.
yeah.
Okay. I guess she never got the memo. Oh. So now, Fred, what were you drafted for? What branch?
Yeah, U.S. Army.
Okay. And then you said how many brothers of yours also were drafted?
3.
And you only had 3 brothers?
Yeah.
Okay. And were they all drafted for the Army as well?
All 4 of us were called into service. 3 of us, 3 oldest ones just went overseas. The youngest one, he didn't get in till late, just before the war ended, so he never got overseas. But
Okay.
3 of us were over there, France, Germany.
And did you all make it home?
Yes, we all made it home.
That's really a miracle.
And I was the only one that was
Wounded.
damaged, if you remember.
Okay. Well, I will ask you about all of that. So, okay, you got married. And then, Joe, where did you live? What did you do?
I stayed with my dad, and I worked in defense factories. One was Armstrong's in Lancaster, and the other was RCA in Lancaster till he came home.
Okay. What did you do there? Did you have a specific job?
Well, you were on an assembly line doing shells
Okay.
that they put ammunition in.
I teach all my students about the women on the home front and what they do, so they'll find that really interesting.
Yeah, everybody worked. I mean, nobody complained. It was looking back, what we've been through lately. It was a combined effort. Nobody complained. We had food stamps and rationing, and couldn't get gas and all that, but we took it for granted.
Was there anything you missed?
No, because I was busy working.
That's good.
Working and sleeping, because you were in shift work. So.
Right. So Joe is at home working. Fred, what did you have to do once I guess I should say, okay, so you got drafted. Where did they tell you to report first? What kinds of things did you have to do, and what did your training involve?
Okay.
You went to Georgia.
Yeah. Well, they sent me to Georgia to a training camp, I guess you would say it. And I spent there. I got there in April, and they trained us. I say till the end of August, and then we were sent you home on furlough until you got on a boat and went overseas. So it didn't take long.
Okay. Now, how was your training experience? What do you remember from it?
Oh, 20-mile walk.
Wow.
That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
But they, you work 3 times for every day. They trained you every day. I'm just saying, and that was one of them, walking. And I say, eventually you got into a 20-mile walk.
Wow.
And I never thought I'd make it, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
But it was saying, you did just about anything. It comes, I guess, to war. You camp out and all that, and go backwards sometimes.
Yeah.
Things like that. There's just so many things that you just, when you go in the Army, it's different. It's quite different, and you have to go through all that. And
did you ever feel intimidated by anything? I mean, sometimes you see in movies, and granted it's the movies, but a sergeant being cruel to somebody, or, the harsh language and so forth. Did you ever have any of that?
No, I did not. I did not. I got along with everybody, and you do have to associate with hundreds of people.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're all in camp together. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Did anyone not make it out of training?
I'm sure there was. I just couldn't tell you how many, though, but I'm sure there's some that just don't make it.
Okay.
Like I said, I was put off for 6 months because of a bad cold, Things like that happen to you, too.
Yeah. Okay, so I should have asked you, what year were you drafted and how old were you? How old were you?
Yeah. Well, it was...
44. 44.
Yeah, 1944. I don't know when I got my first notice. It might have been like January of 44, when I got notice or something, and then they say you train and get ready. But I said that I was probably 19.
Okay.
19 when about the time I was in that part in training. It was about 19.
Okay.
So,
Let's see. So After you had training, what did they do? Where did they send you?
Well, as you say, we got on the Queen Elizabeth boat and went to France.
Okay.
We landed up doing the English Channel, then unloaded us in France. And then they divided you up and sent you where they were positioning you. And I'd say, I haven't mentioned, but I did mention I had a brother that went over together. And as long as we were on the boat, things like that, we could see each other. But he went to a different division, and I was sent to the First Army, USA, one of the oldest armies and still one of the best. and we both went there, but he went to the artillery division, and I got the plain old soldier walking. He got a better job than I did.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what happened that got me over there anyway.
He didn't mention, he mentioned one of the oldest, it was called the Big Red One. I mean, I don't know, there's books about it, it was very popular.
Okay.
And it's one of the bigger ones, I guess. They've been around a long time. I mean, you don't see too much of them anymore, but if you see anybody with a Big Red One patch on, that was the division they were in.
Oh,
It
that's
was
neat.
Big Red One, 18th Infantry Division. I don't remember it. Don't remember his tag number.
No, I don't either.
Okay. Now, prior to this, had you ever been out of the United States before?
No.
So this was a really new experience
Yes,
all
this
around.
is brand new.
Okay. And then, who was the president at the time?
Oh,
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Roosevelt.
What did you like the president? What did you think about the war? What were your impressions about the war in Germany prior to entering?
Well, I never said a word about it. A lot of people like to fight it and things like that. I didn't. I just went along with what they're telling you. Well, you were pretty much told is that you do this or else. So I just took everything that they passed to us and did what they told us.
Okay.
I mean, you soon learned that.
Yeah. Now, Joe, did you keep a closer eye on the news once Fred was called to service?
Well, at that time, you only had radio.
Okay.
And I heard him quite often.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could write back.
There were
Okay.
email letters. What are email? V-mail.
Okay.
Yeah.
And very small. And I think they were read before they were sent out. And so you wouldn't send any
Oh, yeah.
information
Oh,
home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yeah.
You turned it in, and
Yeah.
then they took a picture of it and made it much smaller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they had so many of them to do.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All right. So once you got to France, then what happened? Walk me through, where you were stationed, where you were sent to, any battles you might have been in, things like that.
well, the war was going on,
Mm-hmm.
so you were soon in the war. They just sign you to your outfit and hand you a rifle, or maybe a pistol. Maybe some people got both. Depends on the job they were doing. But they just fit you up like that, and sent you to your outfit, and the outfit was fighting at the time, so you just replaced somebody else that had got wounded or something. So they kept them that way, and then you do as you're told from like everybody else.
Now, how much combat did you see?
I did not see much. we went over there, I'm trying to think, the end of August, 1st September. And I was in the battle up until November 22nd.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I got wounded, and then they had to take me out for the hospital.
Now walk me through, what battle was it in? Did it have a name?
Well,
I guess it's the name of the town. I had a name of the town where I was wounded or close. We had spent the night before in this town. We had captured the town a day or two before, and we slept there that night, then got out and headed into a battle. They shelled shells in on top of us. We were in a wooded area, and you had a whole army, probably 100 people. I put 90 to 100. They probably wasn't always full, but they just put you in there, and I just got stuck.
Okay.
The night after we spent in this town, the day after until I got it, probably around noontime the next day.
So let me backtrack a second. Is this in France still?
No, this is in Germany.
This was in Germany. So
Yeah.
you made your way from September to November from France to Germany.
Well, that only took a couple of days.
Okay.
And then you're in the battle.
Okay.
Then you're sent to the battlefield.
So once you made it to Germany, that's where all the fighting started. Now, did you cross through any other countries at the time, or was it literally from France into Germany?
No, it was pretty much early. Well, I don't know that it was that early, but this.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't really. It was towards the end, because I think it was just the following May when the war ended.
Okay.
From there.
So once you're in Germany, do you basically, for students who would ask me, how does combat work? Are you marching and then you're sleeping like in the outdoors, the ground somewhere, and then the next day you're marching again until you run across the enemy and then you begin fighting? Is that how it worked?
That's how it works.
Okay. Okay.
And they're coming at you, coming towards you, trying to.
Okay.
But it just appeared most of the time we were a little bit more powerful than they were, so we kind of won as you go along. But I guess the outfit, even though I wasn't with it part of the time, went just all the way through Germany.
Okay.
And when the war ended, we were 15 miles inside Czechoslovakia and didn't know it.
Wow. Okay. So, what did I want to ask you? What was your goal when they said, okay, we're marching into Germany? Did they tell you were trying to get to a certain city? You were trying to take out a certain leader? Did they tell you what your goal would be?
No, not really. Not really. Like I say, they handed you a rifle and says, go after them.
Okay, so you just were basically there.
Strictly fighting.
Okay. Okay, and everyone you were with fought with rifles. That was the weapon they used.
Yeah, rifles. Well, it depends on what part of the army you're doing. I was just a walking soldier.
Okay.
But there were a lot of other officers where other people helped. So.
No grenades
but see, we were chasing the German army.
Okay.
And you just kept going.
Okay.
But you'd stop and fight sometimes. They'd shoot you up, and we'd do the same thing towards them.
Right. Now, what town were you in, Fred, when you were injured?
Well, we weren't in town. I would say we had spent the night there, and the next day we marched into a battle
What was
to
the
meet.
name of the town?
Huh?
The name of the town she wants to know.
Hmm. Well, every little burg had a name, you know, and by golly, I'm not sure I can remember the name.
It's all right if you can't remember it. That's okay.
I'm not sure I can. I think I only slept there one night.
Right. Well, tell us then about how you were wounded. What happened?
Yeah, okay. Like I say, from that night, the next day we marched in to meet or to start fighting them again, or pushing them. I mean, everybody had to stop and sleep. But then the next day you just started chasing them again and things like that. So oh golly, I have to stop and think.
That's okay. Take your time.
You know, it's I called it I thought it was a bad move. I guess because I think there was about 90 to 100 of us went into that battle, and half of them, was the only ones that walked out on their own when you got a break, because it was a bad fight. And anyway, we got calmed down, or kind of stopped fighting, right? We stopped when they were putting artillery shells, shoot them off somewhere. They would shoot them and then drop in the area where you are. And we were in a wooded area, and we had just dug our cubby hole, as they call it.
Foxhole. Foxhole.
Foxhole. We had just dug the foxhole. You had a partner. You went 2 to 2. So we dug and had it all nice and ready to go. And say these shells kept coming every once in a while. You heard them coming,
Okay.
so you had a chance to get hid somewhere if you could hit a place like that. But now you're out in the woods. Where are you going to hide? Anyway, we just heard this shell coming, and we both took a run for the foxhole. And he got there first, and he went to the bottom, jumped in, went to the bottom, and then I had to jump in on top of him. And so that's where we were. And then when the shell hit in the tree up above us, and a piece of the artillery shell hit me in my right shoulder blade.
Oh, wow.
And tore up a little bit.
Now, how did that feel? What did you think at the time?
It was so fast, I didn't notice it hurting that bad, but I knew I was bleeding and things like that. And they got 2 guys in there with a stretcher to pick me up, and they got me on a stretcher, and they put the stretcher up on their shoulders, and we started to walk back to this town. And pretty soon you heard another artillery shell coming. So those 2 guys carrying me walked out from under that and let me drop to the ground, and they went back up my foxhole.
Oh, wow.
You talk about odd things.
Yeah, so you're just laying there on a stretcher.
I had nothing to do but lay there. But, nothing got struck around it after that, not while I was still there. But then after the shell exploded and everything, they come picked me up and took me back to the first aid, which was back in the town where we had been the night before.
Okay.
And that was quite an experience. I passed out once before we got back in town when they were carrying me back in town. I passed out once, and then as we got into town and they got me into the first aid, I woke up and they were cutting my uniform off to get to the wound.
Okay.
And then I went out again, lost consciousness again. The next time I woke up, I was on the hood of a Jeep with a guy, passenger, and the Jeep was holding the litter, and the guy driving, of course, and they were flying, because it was a bad injury. And they had to get you there in a hurry, and they were flying.
Okay.
And I'm only there for a few seconds, and then I passed out again. And just as we got to the hospital, or the first aid station, first aid station, when we got there, I came to again, and they were cutting my clothes and everything off. And then when they did get to the hospital after a Jeep ride, a nurse came up to me. I had to get in line. There was that many had been wounded, and I had to wait in line. And the nurse came to me and she says, "Let me look at your wound." And she looked at it and she says, "My, them Germans do batter you up, don't they?" And then I went out again. And then sometime later, of course I didn't come back to it, but sooner or later they operated on me. And this was a Wednesday afternoon, and I didn't wake up until Saturday morning.
Wow.
Saturday morning, I woke up. Well, I'll say after breakfast. Of course, I hadn't had breakfast or anything, but it's breakfast time. Sometime after breakfast, I woke up on Saturday morning, and I was in a room with four or five, I guess about 7 other people. And we had double bunks, and I was in the top bunk. And I said something to somebody. There was a guy sweeping the floor, and I said something to him, and I had pretty much lost my voice. I mean, half of it or something like that, but he heard me, and he looked at me, he dropped his broom, and he ran out of the room. I thought, what's the matter with that guy? And pretty soon he come back in with about 3 doctors, and all 4 of them came over to me and started talking to me. I answered and all that. I had come to since Wednesday, and I was able to confer with them. But I said I only had about half a voice, but I could talk, they could understand. So that's how I ended up there anyway. But I mean, they kept me there for, I'd say, about 2 weeks. Because it was a serious operation. In fact, the doctor said, this guy's not going to make it. They told the people that they were operating on, they said, he's not going to make it. They just did their best for me and put me up in the bed and say, well, he'll last a while, maybe, but I fooled him.
So the guy sweeping must have ran because you were awake. It was a miracle.
Yeah, he was.
He must have been really excited.
I'd been completely out, and he'd been there every day doing that job.
Now, was the medical area you were in, was that run by Americans?
Yes.
So it wasn't any kind of German facility?
No.
Okay. Wow. Now, what did they call your wound? Did it have a name or the surgery, or did they just operate on the shoulder?
Oh, just a nurse, I guess.
Okay.
That's about all I remember is nurse.
Okay. But what the operation, Fred, did you get stitches? Do you remember?
Oh, yes. Yes, I had a lot of stitches. The wound is in my right shoulder blade,
Okay.
and it just shattered my shoulder blade.
And that is where they operated on your
Yeah.
shoulder blade.
Yeah, yeah, they operated my shoulder blade, and part of the shell that hit me tore up the lower part of my right lung, and they had to take part of it out.
Your lung.
My
Oh,
right-
wow. So it went pretty far to go from your shoulder to your lung.
Yeah, well, it's when it hit my shoulder blade, it kind of split, shattered, and one piece come out onto my arm. And in fact, there's one still in there. I still have one piece in there. They said it'll never bother you, and they're right. It hasn't ever bothered me, but it just shattered and went all directions.
So all these years later, you have a little present to keep with you.
Yeah.
You can't have an MRI.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But when you were initially hit, you never thought it was as serious as it was.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Okay. So then, Joe, how did you get word of this?
His mother. They told his mother.
I guess they
You know,
notified her first.
two Army guys always comes to the parents to tell them their son's missing or wounded or dead,
Okay.
and they went to her. So I didn't get it. I think I got a letter from him before they came to her. I think something like that. It was very scribbly, but he was alive, you know. And but you went to England. Is that after that, didn't you?
Oh yes, yeah, yes. Like I say, they kept me there about 2 weeks, so I got a little bit stronger.
Well, just 1 second before you move ahead. How did you feel when you heard that Fred was injured? I mean, that was probably
Well,
really
it was
scary.
alive. That was the main thing. you know,
Yeah.
you know. But I didn't know what the injuries were.
Yeah, she
Okay.
didn't know
I
how
didn't know
bad
what
it was.
I didn't know. He was alive. That was the main thing.
Yeah, she didn't know how bad it was.
And I had gotten a letter, so I knew he, you know, mentally, all that was okay. You know, he was all right that way.
And did you speak to his mom to get the news as well, or you had to wait to get the letter?
I got the letter about the same time that she got the word.
Okay.
And at that time, I don't think she had a phone. We didn't have a phone. And it had to go by mail.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so you did your recovery in the hospital, or, you know, the medical area. Then what happened?
Well, as I say, after about 2 weeks there, they moved me to another area, somewhere where they had a hospital, and they took me there for about 2 or 3 more weeks. It was a slow getting back on your feet, and then next thing I know they say, we're sending you to England to a heart and lung hospital. But okay, so they took me to Paris, put me on a plane, and I landed 60 miles north of London, and spent 5 months, all told, from the day of the wound and all. Spent 5 months there before they sent me back to Germany.
So you did go back to fight again?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. So once you got sent back to fight again, how long were you fighting before the war was over?
Not very long, 1 month.
Okay.
3 weeks actually would probably be a better time, 3 weeks. I didn't get back till April, from middle of April, and it ended, I think, on May 7th. So it was probably just 3 weeks. And we were chasing them. There was no fighting then. And as I say, we run out of Germany into Czechoslovakia when it ended.
Wow.
One interesting thing in Czechoslovakia was, we had about 75 guys that we were chasing. And when the war ended, they just stopped, sit down out in the field. But the thing that I remember more about it.
I don't think kids need to know that.
What?
I don't think the kids need to know that. What you want to say now?
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead. I don't mind.
Well, you interrupted me. I lost my track.
You were saying about the men sat down in the field.
Oh yeah. The main thing I remember about that was about 10% of them had their girlfriends with them, the German soldiers, if you can believe that.
That's interesting.
And they were running with them. It was unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
And they had a hospital in the town where we were, but they had used it and had it full of women. So when you went on furlough, they sent you there to the hospital and take the choice of the women.
Wow.
Believe
That's
that?
crazy.
That's true.
I do believe it. I mean, I've read many, many books about World War II, and there's never anything that they didn't think of.
No.
Wow.
They did everything.
Now, how did it come about? I guess, let me pause a second and go back to combat. Had you ever used a gun prior to your training of World War II?
Oh yes, at home, you used to go out rabbit hunting.
Okay.
Like on the farm, you go out shooting mice and things. Yeah, I had fired rifles and things before, yeah.
So you did have experience then?
Yeah.
So, Fred, and if you don't want to tell me, you don't have to, do you know if you killed anyone over there? Or when you're there, is it just kind of the experience where you're shooting and it may or may not hit somebody and you don't really know?
I'm very sure that I never killed anybody.
Okay.
Actually never shot anybody.
Okay.
Because we never, after I got back, towards the end, they were running so fast we couldn't catch them. So you really weren't shooting anybody.
Okay.
No, I never shot at anybody that I know of.
Okay. But did you have to shoot when you were in combat?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Other people, a lot of times you have to protect yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it would just so happen that I didn't have to.
Okay. Now, once you were in Germany, did you know about the Holocaust and what was happening to the Jewish people? Did you get any knowledge?
No, not sure that I did.
Okay.
Not sure that I did.
When did you realize that that was happening? When did you learn of it?
Well, you hear everything in a group of 75 to 100 guys. You hear anything at all that goes along, and I expect I heard it after the war ended.
Okay.
I just don't remember the point.
Okay.
The time.
Okay. So once the war ended, everyone's done fighting, but you're still in Germany. What happened then?
Yeah. Well, we spent about a couple of months in Czechoslovakia with us. The 75 men. We had to get them discharged out of so they could go home and things like that. And it took about that length of time.
Okay.
And then they moved us back into Germany, and when they took us to a busy crossroads, and because there were still some people or soldiers which were walking around, and so we had to guard that for, I don't know, I think we might have been there about a month. And then our next move was into Nuremberg.
Okay.
And apartment building in Nuremberg.
What did Germany look like while you were there? I mean, we have pictures of a lot of it being in rubble, but what were your impressions when you got there and saw it?
Well, I never saw much but the damaged towns.
Okay.
To be honest with you,
Mhm.
you know, you passed over some of them. Let's see, some that weren't damaged, but just about every building I saw had been damaged
Okay.
somehow, because they just, people run and they bomb them out.
Did you have any interaction with the German people? How did they treat you? Did you get to talk to any of them?
No, they were all friendly. They were all friendly.
Okay.
To me, there was no arguments or anything like that, you know. We never hit anybody that was bad. Well, you do, but you're just tell them to sit down and shut up.
Right. So once you made it to Nuremberg, then what happened?
Well, as I say, we were just sitting in the rooms there one day, and a guy walked in, sergeant walked in, and says, anybody who weighs 180 pounds and is 6 foot tall reports so-and-so this afternoon. And well, that just hit me. So that's what I weighed, and I was, I think, a half an inch or so less than 6 foot at that time. So we went to the room where we were supposed to be there, and they just sit down and says, now look, we are going to be guarding the Nuremberg prisoners. And I guess everybody dropped their heart and their head and everything else. Didn't know what was going to happen. We really didn't know what to expect, you know. But in Nuremberg, the Justice Center had not been damaged. So they had a courtroom and they had a jail and everything. And of course, all these guys were in the jail. And it had well, you probably heard me say, a long walkway between the jail, and it was covered completely. No windows, no doors, just lights, because it didn't want people to know when you're leading a prisoner through that. And so, in case somebody would have tried to help him escape or something, but never had that while I was there. No.
Okay. Now, can you talk about the security at Nuremberg for both yourself and the prisoners?
Well, as I say, it was a jail, and they were under 24-hour watch.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. There's a guy out the door looking in on you. And it was 24 hours a day like that. And I would just have to go to his jail cell and pick him up and then take him to the inside the courtroom and then take him back after it was over. And that wasn't a big job.
You had to stand behind him, didn't you?
Huh?
You had to stand behind him in the courtroom.
Had what?
To stand behind the prisoner.
Oh, yeah. During the trial, during the day, 7 of us stood behind the prisoner's box. And you served 2 hours, because you had to stand at parade rest, and that means you stand still.
Mm-hmm.
But we only stood there for 2 hours, and then we'd go off and somebody else would come on, and then you may go back 3 or 4 hours later and spend another 2 hours or something like that. You can't stand too long, holding still, being still, you know.
Right. What prisoner did you guard?
He was head of the Navy. He was head of the Navy.
Was it Carl? Carl Donitz?
Yeah.
Okay.
Carl Donitz, and he was also the one Hitler left in charge when he committed suicide. I was assigned to him.
What did
Him was assigned to me.
What did you think about him? Did you get to talk to him at all?
Oh, yeah. I hate to say it, but he was a great fellow. We got along good. And he loved reading. And I had to find all the books I could ever get a hold of and take to him. And so at nighttime, and when he went in the courtroom, he'd have something to read. And he kept saying, find me some more books.
So they were allowed to read?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did. I got him a lot of pocket. At that time, they're called pocketbooks.
Okay.
I don't know what you refer.
Paperbacks.
Mhm.
Paperbacks would be now.
Paper.
Okay.
Yeah. They were pretty plentiful, and I would just hunt new ones that he hadn't seen, you know, or not hunt. I didn't really go hunting. I might see them,
Okay.
but I helped him get some. But when you talk to him, he was a nice guy.
Did you have any interactions with any of the other prisoners?
Well, they're all right in front of you,
Mhm.
and things happening. You probably know Rudolph Hess always gave us a problem during the court, and he ended up after about halfway through the court saying, "I've just been doing this. Nothing's wrong with me." But he was, every day he'd go on, hold his stomach, act like he was dying, and put his, in fact, they called a meeting, and one night after court, they held a meeting with him, and before it got started, he says, "Well, let me tell you something." And he says, "There's nothing wrong with me." He says, "I've been acting this up." And he got so many years
Mhm.
on his, and after it was finished, he wouldn't leave the jail. And he lived in the jail till he died. That's just the way he felt.
Yeah. Any of the other prisoners that you recall?
Well, they move you around a little bit. They put me once on the main door to the courtroom, and then we never had a gun because they didn't want you to shoot them. But they gave me a pistol for the main door to the courtroom, and I did that for a couple of months and things, and then went back to put me in charge of one group of 7 that pulled the guard duty like that. They shift you around.
Okay. Now, you might have seen some of the evidence or heard some of the testimony of the
I
things
saw it all.
that they did, which I'm sure was eye-opening and frightening, you know. Fred, what were your impressions? Did anything really shock you? And just, did you have any, like, what were your impressions at that point? Because as a normal civilian, probably most people would never even think of the atrocities that they committed. For example, I know one of the things they talked about was lampshades made out of skins, you know, of prisoners and so forth. But unless you were at that trial or until it was televised, most people probably wouldn't have known of all those details. So what did you think when you learned of it?
Well, we had heard most of it. We had heard of most of it before. Over the period of time, we had heard of most of the stuff, you know, and they were just presented evidence against it and all that. Yeah, well, you're just, you know, just say, you know, this guy did that? Yeah, you know. There was 21 or 22 prisoners there that day.
Yes. You saw the lampshades.
Yeah, I saw. They showed the lampshades that was made out of GI's arms with tattoos on them.
Mm-hmm.
Made the lampshades out of it.
What
Wow.
else did he show?
Well, it didn't show too much. They reported a lot. And then there was, you know, the place was full of lawyers and judges, and they would have to stop and talk and things like that. They dug up new evidence, I guess, as they went along to 21.
Now, were the guards only American guards, or did they pick guards from other countries as well?
No, we were the only ones.
Okay. Do you know why America was selected and not France or another country, for example?
Well, because they won the war.
Okay.
I mean, I would say that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were in this 1st Infantry Division, and that's thousands of people
Right.
as you come through it, so, and they were all over there.
How many American Guards were picked, do you remember? You and how many? Do you have any idea?
Well, there was, I think about 21. What I mean by that, I think you could get in there 3 times a day, like for 2 hours. So then this 21, 7 3s, 21, like that.
Okay. When the sentencing was given out, were you surprised, or was it what you had expected?
Yeah, okay. I left before that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether I told you that or not. A few months before this thing ended, my turn came to come home, and I didn't turn it down.
I don't blame you.
I did not turn it down a bit. I came home.
Okay.
But then, of course, I followed it, and the newspapers and things like that. It went on for 3 or 4 months after I came home.
Okay. Let me ask you, you probably read or heard about then Herman Goering taking the pill before he was hung. Did you have any opinions about how he ever got that?
Well, a lot of people say, one of our GIs gave it to him, but there's no record of that or anything, you don't know, you just have to guess.
Yeah.
And he might have kept it, I don't know how he could have kept it hid, but if he had something, or somebody else slipped it to him.
True.
So, but I never heard anything about it, really.
But from your opinion, other than Rudolf Hess, all of the criminals did seem like nice people.
Yeah.
To you. I mean, yeah.
They're ordinary people.
That's really interesting. Everybody would think a criminal is just this horrible, awful person, and it's nice, to teach kids that they could be just like you and I, and that carry out this stuff. Did you ever have any experience with the concentration camps or any of the victims from them?
Oh, concentration camp. No, I don't think I was never in one of them.
Okay.
I mean, I might have went through an empty one or something after it was over, but I never had any part with that part.
And you never saw any of the Jewish or even non-Jewish inmates at a camp?
No.
Okay.
No. Oh, they might have brought a witness or something, to the courtroom to present his witnesses. I mean, might look at him there. That's all.
Okay.
That's all. But you never got a chance to see him otherwise.
Okay. So you were sent right back from Germany back home here to the United States, and then what was your life like after that? You guys met back up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his parents had moved from Aberdeen to Bel Air, Maryland on it wasn't a farm.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so he told me when he was coming, so I was down there when he came. He was a complete stranger to me.
Wow.
I came home on Memorial Day.
Okay.
When they dropped me off near the town where they were living, I said it was Memorial Day.
Wow.
And I got within probably a mile of the house where they were staying. I had been at the house and a place before, so I knew where it was. But I was carrying a big bag with me and everything. And I walked about halfway home, and the thing was heavy. and I come to a place on the bank here where there's some bushes, and so I threw the thing over this bush, and so that nobody could see it, you know. And then I walked the rest of the way, and then Dad took me back in the car, and I picked it up. And
Aw. Did they know you were coming, or was it a
no,
surprise?
I don't think so. I don't think.
Well, I wouldn't have
They
been.
knew I was on the way.
Yeah.
I guess is the
Okay.
best way to
But
say
they
it.
didn't know the time.
I bet you were so excited.
Yeah, but he was. I mean, I was excited, but then when I seen him, I mean, he was like a complete stranger.
Did he look different, or it was just because you were away for so
I was just
long?
away for so long, I think.
Okay.
Well, I'd been gone not quite 2 years,
Yeah.
but it's a long time.
So you left in 44, and you came back in 46.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And then where did you decide to live?
We lived in Oxford for, what, a year or two?
Yeah.
And then he got a job in Kennett. And we got a job with a house. And so we lived on Meredith Street for, how many years?
Oh, let's see, from 47 to 61.
Then we moved out here.
Okay. And just for the record, here is Bayard Road, right, in Kennett still.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And we had, Denny is born in 1950 and Mark 1953. And I worked at Fiber till they were born, and I,
In NVF,
no, it was called Fiber.
yeah, well,
And-
National Walking Life, right?
Anyway, they're not in business anymore. But then after Denny was born, I was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay. And then Fred, where did you work when you were here in Kennett?
The old Gothrop lumber yard, coal yard, fuel oil heating and air conditioning. That's
Okay.
what I was involved with.
And how many grandchildren and great-grandchildren do you have now?
We have only 4 grandchildren.
We had, 4 grandchildren.
I think it's 7 great-grandchildren, but I add 2 to it because our granddaughter's husband's mother died young, and he took in a sister and a brother.
Okay.
So I count them too.
They're
Yeah.
kind of they're not really adopted, but
He just took them in
Yeah.
and lived with him.
yeah,
With them.
took care of them. So we're mom and pop to them along with the other kids. So
Doesn't matter. You'll love them just the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep. That's nice. Okay. Let me think if there's anything else. Can you think of anything else that I didn't ask you, or something you'd want me to know about your whole experience? Anything interesting? Things you thought? Here's another thing I will think to ask you. When you came back, I'm sure you saw a lot of things that were really difficult to see. Did you have trouble with nightmares or post-traumatic stress or anything like that?
No, I never did.
You're very lucky.
Yeah.
I will think to ask you something else. For the tape, I met Fred and Joe through church at First Baptist in Kennett Square, and I know that you're Christians. Were you always Christians before you entered war? And whether you were or were not, how did war impact your Christian faith?
We were not Christian when I was in the service.
Okay.
We were just out of school, a year or two, and things like that, and we had not joined the church or anything. And we didn't do it until about 4 years after I came back. Well, actually, Denny was born. He was born on December 30 in 1950. And the following summer, we thought it was better we get in church. So we joined the church. That's when we joined the church. Easter Sunday, 1951.
but we had gone to Sunday school and all that, but never. took it seriously.
We'd been,
Okay.
we'd been going, but just never joined.
I mean, you went as a kid, and I went as a kid, but we never
Yeah,
you know,
I grew up in a church.
took it seriously.
Okay. Now, how do you think? Let me rephrase this. Do you think that God had an impact on you coming home and surviving and taking care of you?
No doubt about it.
Okay.
No doubt about it. I mean, you know, the doctor said he's not going to make it. But I woke up and never shut up.
I think that's incredible. I've met different war survivors and all, from different wars, and I find it really interesting to ask them that question about their faith, or do you have faith or do you not? And different ones that I have met have all said, particularly ones who were in combat, if I didn't have faith then, I certainly do now. I had met a veteran from Vietnam at one time, and he came home and he said he was so scared he just kept reciting Bible verses, and he said I never even remember reading them in the Bible, but he said they came to me at those experiences. So I thought that was really interesting. Did you think at all about prayer or church or anything when you were fighting?
Well, I'm sure we did a lot of praying. Because I did pray. My father was the son of a Methodist minister, and so I was church all my life, actually, so I did pray and things like that. So I'm sure I did a lot of it in those 2 years.
Sure. Joe, I bet you did a lot of praying.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you can think of that you want to tell me?
The only one thing I will say, he never talked about it. He never talked about the war. I mean, even the kids don't know much about it. I mean, they're probably learning more about it lately in the last few years, but he never talked about it. They just know Dad was in his service, and
Well, I guess I thought nobody around the world.
No,
I
I think World War II veterans were like that. They didn't talk.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's difficult. I mean, it's easy for us who've never seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can read things in a book and say, oh my gosh, I can't imagine, but to actually live it, I wouldn't imagine that, or even wanting to be able to talk about it at times. I know what another thing I was thinking to ask you. When you came home, did you receive anything for being a veteran? Do you get, if you don't mind my asking, do you get benefits? Do you get any compensation? Did you get any education? Was there anything provided by our government for your service?
Yeah. Well, I was wounded, and they gave me a 30% disability.
What does that mean?
It means that I get a check every week, and
Every
have
month.
gotten one ever since.
Okay.
But you didn't get that till you were out so many years.
No, they filed up somewhere. I didn't get it for, I don't know, 10 years. And one day we got
Is that all?
got them into it. And say it's just, well, things you do, I guess.
Well, when he got this big check, from all these years that he should have been getting it, and so he gave our 10% to church, and I think the IRS contacted us that we gave too much.
Aww.
Like they say, that it's not a big deal. It's only about $450 a month. That's
Okay.
what it is today. And
Okay.
I didn't worry too much about it, I guess.
Now, did you get any education or health benefits
Well,
from
I
that?
could have, but I never applied for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had those. Even today, I still remember the Veterans Administration.
Okay.
Like I say, I'm a damaged citizen.
Now, Fred and Joe, just for the record, what are your birthdays?
Mine's December 16th, 1926.
Okay.
Yeah. September 7, 1924.
Okay. And then what date were you married?
August the 30th, 1944.
Okay. Wow. And then just to kind of summarize your family too, Fred, all of your brothers, did they come home before you or after you?
Well, yes, since I stayed over there for the trials, they all go home ahead of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you had a sister to me earlier today who's celebrating what birthday?
99.
99.
September 30th, she'll be 100.
Wow. Are your brothers still living?
Oh,
One.
two. Just
One.
one. My youngest brother is 88.
Okay.
He's still living, but he's damaged. I mean, he's handicapped, walking, and he
Okay.
has to have a walker and everything.
And how old are both of you today?
I'm 88. He's 90.
Okay.
I'll be 91 in September.
Okay. Did you receive any medals for your service
Yes.
or any awards?
Last thing I can do is show it to you.
Oh, we'd love to see it.
The boys made that for him. And we asked for, that's our youngest. Well, Denny wants that. He wants that. I said, where are you going to put it? I'll find a place. But anyway, I said to Mark, what do you want from the house? He said, Dad's medals. And I don't know why. So.
Fred, here, hold this in front of the camera for me so we can take a picture of that, and then I'll hold it and take a closer shot. Now point to them and tell us what they are.
All right, this is the Purple Heart for
Okay.
being wounded. That's a Bronze Star for being in a bad fight.
Okay.
And these are just decorations for your uniform. These things go on there. This is for the Army of Occupation.
Okay.
That's what I was in after the war. And that's a good conduct medal, if you can believe I have good conduct.
I can believe that.
And that's a rifle expert.
Okay.
And that's just a signature of the division I was in, and that's the big red one.
Very nice. Did you receive any recognition for Nuremberg? Do they give any medals for being a guard there or anything?
I kicked you out the door.
That's okay. But
He has a letter from Harry Truman.
Oh, yeah. Harry
Okay.
Truman sent me a letter. President Truman sent me a letter when I came home.
What did he say in that letter?
He framed it. Is it in there?
No,
What'd you do with it?
I don't know. What?
That's all right, but I'm guessing it was
Well, it
a
was
thank
just-
you letter.
Yeah, I was thanking for serving his country.
Yeah, just thanks him for being a soldier, and
Okay.
fighting over there.
Okay. Well, I don't think I have any more questions for you. It's always easy to walk away and then think of something else. But is there anything else you want to tell me or share?
Gosh, I don't know anything.
No, just happy to be alive.
Oh, I worked 50 years for the same company, if that's any news.
I'm not surprised with your great personality that they wanted you that long. Of course they would. That's really neat.
It was only sold about 3 times, but I stayed with it.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you both very much for telling me your story. And I'm going to just turn this off here.